How many people in the locker room didn't have contracts?
Oh, quite a bit. Quite a bit.
So it was just kind of like
the top guys.
The top guys were locked in.
The guys who thought, who Paul thought could go to WCW or WWE.
Was anybody offered that didn't take it because they thought their opportunity might arise across the street and they'd want to be free to go?
I'm not sure. I never, I mean, most guys were pretty happy with the money they were getting. I mean, Vince was offering between 100 and 150 grand a year downside. A lot of us were getting that in ECW,
right?
The very top guys, and that's where Paul went into the trouble he did, because he was robbing Peter to pay Paul to get people from jumping. Not that he wasn't. The company was earning money. I mean, my wife used to work in the T-shirts. We did a pay-per-view in Chicago. I think it was Anarchy Rules '99. As a heel, I think I sold 190 shirts combined. As a heel, that's a good number.
Yeah.
And I think the actual merch number, just the merch itself, was over 55,000. That's one night. So there was money being made. I just think that he, in order for people to stick with the company, that he was just
throwing too much of it
throwing too much of it to the talent, and making bad business decisions with guys like Steve Carroll, who I always thought was a mafioso. Seriously doing loan sharking deals to front him money to put on pay-per-views. Anytime Steve Carroll walked by the merchandise table and asked my wife for the manila envelope filled with God knows how much money, Dreamer, who was my wife's boss, would just say, hey, give Steve Carroll whatever he wants. So just a lot of stuff like that, You just never knew, man. And ECW, there was just the merchandise alone at that time was incredible. Something like this had never been done.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what concessions were made. I know Doug Dillinger accompanied Mike Awesome to the building, and they thought some kind of bad thing was going to happen, which of course it wouldn't have. We liked Mike. Nobody's going to do anything to Mike, and whatever. But the match went off fine, and everything went fine, and that was it.
Does it raise a red flag for anyone that?
What are you talking to? Oh, of course.
Like an end game in sight?
I don't.
Being bought?
I don't. I mean, you always thought. I mean, I knew Paul talked to Vince. You have to be an idiot not to. I mean, hell, when I got my gig there in the first place, I went to Vince in '97. Kevin and Scott jumped. I said to Vince, I had a meeting with Vince in Stamford. I said, Vince, I had a year or two left. I said, I want out of my contract. I said, you're not doing anything with me. Kevin and Scott offered me a deal down there. I want to go. And he said, absolutely not. He goes, it's not, not that the Aldo character was worth the shit, but I just don't want the perception of another one of my wrestlers going down there. So he let me go work for Paul. So who's to say that that hadn't been going on for many years?
She gets to have matches with the guys. How is she in the ring?
She's pretty good. Yeah, she was pretty good. Tough girl.
Legitimately tough?
Yeah.
Right? Body
yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, she could take a beating. She could work.
Was the promotion down on Simon Diamond? He saddled with, the comedy entourage instead of giving him...
He was a little bit, Yeah, he was. Paul picked his favorites. And if Paul felt you had it, whatever it may be, then he would go with you. If not, if he felt you were still, he could use you for something. If you're a good mid-card guy, or you could have a good match with this one or that one. Then But Paul knew what he wanted. I guess he had a certain model for what he felt was a wrestler for him, a top wrestler.
Do you think Paul was double-crossed to look like a fool? Was it kind of proving a point, like, well, here are these guys coming here, so it's going to be kind of a squash in our house?
Anytime you do anything with Vince, the ECW thing is going to always be buried.
Right.
Vince has an ego. I mean, look, ECW created something that Vince always wanted. And I think ECW, what we did, even before I got there, really was the catalyst for the Attitude Era, and I think everybody can agree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Vince, I think, can't swallow it that for a minute there, we were the shit. We were the cool thing to watch, and it really bothered him. So he did everything in his power to undermine what we did, and obviously.
But the exposure is worth it to send Taz out there in Philly.
Yeah, in a way. But who knows? I mean, who knows if that's one of the obligations Paul had to Vince.
Did Corino consider this as big a deal as it was to get a pinfall on Dusty Rhodes?
Yeah. I mean, he was very emotional, very grateful. I mean, he's one of our legends, in our business, and we grew up watching Dusty, admiring Dusty. He was our hero when we were kids. So yeah, it was a huge deal, And only in ECW could you see guys of that generation with that name, guy like Dusty Rhodes, Terry Funk, come in and work with young guys. I mean, it was pretty cool, man. And it was amazing for Steve, and it really helped him.
And willing to put you guys over.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Is it true Dreamer was a little upset to win the title, wanting to go his entire ECW career, never having to be able to say he never had to have a belt?
Possibly.
Something you'd heard or
no, I haven't
just
heard,
inferred,
but I
maybe?
mean, I could imagine Tommy, because he always wanted to be the guy who he didn't have to get over by winning, so to speak. But I think it was something that Paul wanted to give to him, and honor him with that for all of his service. So it was just a way to kind of do it.
When would you find out you were going to get a strap?
That day.
That day.
Maybe hours before.
There's no real long term
No.